Hello, good morning. Poetry changes lives. Once again, here am I, here's the book, here is the little bit of history, thought for the day, and a poem to go with it. I think that's a pretty good recipe to start a day or dip into during the day. If you go to the website, Poetry Changes Lives, you can read all about it. You can sign up, put in your email address, and get a daily email with just this information and maybe a bit more as well. And you can buy the book, of course, if you want to, the website or from Amazon. Let me demonstrate. On this day, in 1955, Albert Einstein, that's a name to be conjured with still today, a wonderful Swiss physicist, the brainiest man of his day and probably of any day. He died on this day in 1955, aged 76, and it was a very elegant death, in my view, anyway. He died in hospital having had an aneurysm. You know, his, I don't know, his artery or something basically gave out. And he could have had surgery, but he refused, saying, I want to go when I want. It is tasteless to prolong life artificially. I have done my share. It is time for me to go. I will do it elegantly. What a great thing to say when you're facing death. A remarkable man, Albert Einstein. His theory of relativity is considered one of the biggest advances ever made in science. Though I have to admit that if I had to explain it to a classroom of people, I wouldn't really know how to begin. Einstein remained a humble person in spite of his massive brain power. Some of his sayings are difficult to understand, I think. Well, make that quite a lot of his sayings are difficult to understand, but that's maybe my limited brain. What did he really mean, for example, when he said, God does not play dice with the world? I don't know. Think about it. Anyway, today I'm going to read a poem with a rather simpler view of the world by Percy Bysshe Shelley, that wonderful Victorian 19th century poet who poured out an amazing volume and variety of poetry, all with wonderful imagery, beautiful command of the English language. To some of us today, it can feel a little bit overly verbose, a little bit over the top. It's almost as if he sat with the full volume of the English dictionary in front of him and picked out all the most complicated words to include. But at the same time, he does often give a powerful message, a lot of food for thought, and some wonderful imagery that really can stop you in your tracks and change your mood and your thoughts and your perception of things. So I'm not saying he's in any way bad. I actually greatly admire him and like him, but don't try and imitate him today, would be my advice. Do it your own way. He's a little bit sort of 19th century for me. Here we are, Ode to Heaven. Palace roof of cloudless nights, paradise of golden lights, deep, immeasurable, vast, which art now and which weren't then, of the present and the past, of the eternal where and when, presence chamber, temple, home, ever canopying dome, of acts and ages yet to come, glorious shapes have life in thee, earth and all earth's company, living globes which ever throng thy deep chasms and wildernesses, and green worlds that glide along, and swift stars with flashing tresses, and icy moons most cold and bright, and mighty suns beyond the night, atoms of intensest light. Not a bad description of the universe, really, though, you know, people just don't talk about sort of deep chasms and wilderness and green worlds that glide along with flashing tresses. It's great imagery. You know, Percy Bysshe Shelley did a good job, basically. He could write a good poem, he knew what he was doing, and he really changed a whole generation into, you know, the simple act of enjoying the beautiful outpouring of emotion and perception of the world about them. He was, of course, overtaken in the 20th century. People were much more ready then to sort of let it all hang out there. They were into sort of psychiatry and not hiding their own emotions and their own faults and foibles as well. And so the 19th and 20th century had a huge sort of credibility gap for some time. But I think now people are beginning to realize that poetry comes in so many different forms. It's part of its huge attraction and wonder that it can appeal to so many people. And of course, anywhere you go in the world, there is somebody writing poetry. There is no country in the world, I would really stick my neck out and say for sure, there is no country or continent, not even Antarctica, I reckon, these days, where someone, somewhere, is not writing a bit of poetry. And I think that has to be a good thing in this troubled world of ours. And, you know, poetry has power, and I wish poetry power could run the world. But of course it won't happen like that. Today I recognize that things are as they are. I like the idea of spirituality in that is there's something different that has been missing for many of us. Thank you for listening today. Have a good day.